And welcome back to another episode of Crunch Time. As always, I'm Noah Elkin here with...
Awesome, man. Per usual, we have a variety of topics from the sports world, so Noah, dap me up with that first one.
All right, awesome. Well, we're going to start off with Derrick Rose. A couple weeks ago, we talked about him on the show, and I got to say, you were right. You said that you thought he could be a starter, again, and I didn't believe you, but he just put up 50 on the Jazz this week. In 41 minutes. I mean, I think that speaks for himself.
What I loved about that game was you just saw shades, or no, you just saw old D Rose. You want to talk about shades, like the athleticism, the explosiveness, that crafty finishing. Like he attacked Rudy Gobert, and made it like it was nothing.
Yeah, reigning defensive player of the year, by the way.
Known as the Stifle Tower, 7'2". 7 feet 2 inches tall. Derrick Rose is like damn near a foot shorter than him, but he was just attacking him and making it layups like it was just nothing.
Yeah, it was Halloween night, so it's kind of like Derrick Rose was dressing up as his old self.
I totally stand by that statement earlier where I said Derrick Rose is starting material in this league, and I think honestly if he continues this pace, he might be back in the top 10 point guard conversation.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think there's any way he'll continue to put 50 up a night, but I don't know. Even if he can just give you 20 and 5 assists a night or something, that would be huge.
But there's not many point guards who could give you 20 and 5.
Yeah.
Like you're either getting that 5 assists or you're getting that 20 points.
Right. No, that's a fair point. And another thing to note from that game is the Timberwolves were able to win despite getting only 13 points from their bench all game. So I agree. I think Derrick Rose is now starting. He could start again. However, I think also if he does continue to come off a bench, that's an extremely valuable role for the Wolves because they do not have a lot coming off that bench.
But think about it with the NBA, it's all about just putting your 5 best players on the court now. It doesn't even matter what position they play. You just need to put the people that will win you the games.
I mean, definitely. I think I agree with you to an extent, but at the same time, you do generally see teams with the better benches being the better teams in the NBA because when the starters need to come out, it's so tremendously helpful to have a second unit that can maintain a lead and sometimes even build it.
Yeah, I definitely think Tibbs has to be smart with how he uses Derrick Rose just because he can't put too many minutes with him and Cat just because Cat would take the majority of the scoring because he's their franchise player, top 10 player in the league. But let Derrick Rose run mostly with the second unit, I think, during the first half, but in the second half, just let him and Karl Anthony Towns run a pick and roll. I think that would be deadly.
Because think about closing out a game with Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins. It'd probably be Taj Gibson and Cat. I mean, that's a pretty nice 5 to have on the floor.
I agree. I think that if Tibbs just realizes that pick and roll potential between Towns and Rose, because if Derrick Rose is playing like his old self, you have a deadly finisher in Derrick Rose, and you also have another deadly finisher in Karl Anthony Towns.
And both of them can shoot. So if the drive into the basket doesn't work out, there's always that kick out option.
And then you can always just swing it back out to Jimmy Butler for a 3.
Exactly.
Or you can find a cutting Andrew Wiggins going to the basket. There's a lot of potential there with that pick and roll combination.
Yeah. All right, Austin. So the Raptors and the Lakers played this week, and I don't think anyone expected the Lakers to go into Toronto and win necessarily, but the Raptors really beat up on the Lakers. Beat the shit out of the Lakers. The final score was not representative of how wide of a score gap there was for most of that game. And I think the biggest point to be made is Kawhi Leonard didn't play, Austin.
I just think the Raptors are a superior team. Kyle Lowry was playing lights out basketball. Right, he's looking like a top 10 player in my opinion, just because the way he is consistently contributing on both ends. He's just a natural leader, and I think that really helps Kawhi because it shoulders off something else. He's the guy on the team, but he's not necessarily the leader of the team. Kyle Lowry is. He's the glue that's holding together the team, and it allows Kawhi to be Kawhi.
Yeah, agreed. And you talk about Kawhi's upcoming free agency, and a lot of people have said, he's starting to fall in love with Toronto. I don't disagree per se, but I think I think going to the Lakers is becoming less and less of a possibility for Kawhi Leonard. I think he definitely wants to be the man on whatever team he is, and he just saw his team without him whoop the Lakers.
With LeBron, the best player in the world, probably for like at least the next 2 or 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Clippers would be a good option just because him and Tobias Harris, that would be a really nice forward combination there. You got Patrick Beverly, you got Avery Bradley, you got the rookie Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and that would be a scary defensive lineup.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say defensive-wise. Like, you got Patrick Beverly, who might be the best defensive point guard in the league, and then Kawhi Leonard, who's won Defensive Player of the Year. You know, I think you probably got to add a better center to that lineup, but if you're able to get those pieces in play, like that's a real good team right there.
You don't like my boy, the Polish Hammer, Marcin Gortat?
You know, I thought he was better with the Wizards. I don't think he's a top 10. I don't even think he's really top 15 center in the league.
Well, I think what helped him win the Wizards was that he had that pick and roll with John Wall.
Oh, absolutely.
But now he doesn't have John Wall, so now he's just kind of like a slow white guy.
Yeah, like Patrick Beverly and Avery Bradley aren't bad players. They're definitely both good players, but they're not quite superstar level.
I think like the Clippers have the pieces. They just need that one star to carry them over, and I think Kawhi would fit really well with that system. Just because he is the guy and the offense would run through him, but he'd also have a good supporting cast. And I think that's also why he kind of wanted to leave the Spurs as well, just because it's like disconnect with the management, but he just also just felt like the Spurs didn't have like the pieces to necessarily contend.
Yeah, I mean, DeRozan actually is looking nice on the
DeRozan's
Spurs.
looking nice, but the thing is though, like outside of LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, like you're not gonna get much.
Mm-hmm. And LaMarcus Aldridge, like I feel, you know, as a Blazer fan, I'm a little salty at him, but taking a step back and just looking at him from trying to be an unbiased perspective, like he's a great offensive player. He's not that great on the defensive end.
Nope.
And the Spurs, like, you know, they're about their defense.
And DeMar DeRozan's not known for his defense. Like you saw in the playoffs, like last time, they literally sat him during the most important moments against the Cavaliers because he just did not contribute enough defensively.
Defense wins championships.
Defense does win championships.
What can you say?
That's why the Raptors are looking real nice this year.
Yeah, they are. All right. So speaking of LeBron, his former teammate J.R. Smith has requested a trade from the Cavs. I believe he actually requested it not to the Cavs, but he put something on Twitter, something or other, and I think he actually might be getting a fine for that. But regardless, it should be noted, J.R. Smith is, I don't know, away from LeBron, I don't really think he's that great. And he's scheduled to make just under $15 million this season and just over $15 million next season.
Well, I think if his salary was $10 million less, you would have no problem finding a trader.
Oh, absolutely.
A suitor for J.R. Smith. Just the fact that you're paying $15 million just for shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing else really, and attitude, I guess that's really all you're gonna get with J.R. Smith, and that Supreme tattoo. But anyways, I don't know. I think the Cavaliers have to attach like two second round picks or possibly a first round pick. I'd maybe look into like a 3-team trade, or you might have to look at a buyout potentially. I just don't see a scenario where people are lining up to trade for J.R. Smith. I think the buyout would most likely be the most viable option, just because it clears cap space for the Cavs who want to go young now, and J.R. Smith can freely sign with any team he wants and get paid the money that he's actually worth.
Yeah, no, I think that is probably how this is going to go. I can't see literally any team in the league paying or trading to pay J.R. Smith $15 million.
Yeah, especially if Danny Green is only making $11 million a year, and he is probably one of the better two-way players in this league. And probably like one of the premier perimeter defenders too. It says a lot, and the fact that J.R. Smith is getting paid more and just goes on Twitter rants all the time. I don't know. I just don't think you really want that in your locker room as well.
Yeah, definitely agreed. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the NFL. Lots of news in the NFL this week. The trade deadline just recently passed. Demaryius Thomas was quite potentially the biggest name. He went to the Houston Texans from the Broncos. Those teams actually played on Sunday. Texans came down with the win. Austin, I don't know. I think this is probably a good move for both teams. I don't think the Broncos were in a position where they were going to do too much this year. Meanwhile, the Texans are on the come up. They just lost a big receiver.
Will Fuller.
Will Fuller, the fourth? The fifth.
That's a lot of Fullers right there.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think Demaryius Thomas is going to be an excellent complement to DeAndre Hopkins. Hopefully they can get QT back pretty soon in the coming weeks. That's a pretty good receiving course, with Deshaun Watson in the pocket.
And the fact that Will Fuller, when he comes back, is going to slide into the slot, that's nice. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Just because you have three guys who can easily go off for 100 yards, no biggie in one half.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also just respect the Broncos for doing it, just because rather than trade him to like a shite team, they traded him to a contender because Demaryius Thomas meant so much to the Broncos.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he was there. He literally caught that touchdown pass from Tim Tebow when he was still playing football. Caught touchdown passes from freaking Peyton Manning during his record MVP season and his last good season. Won a Super Bowl with them. Literally just like a franchise icon at this point.
Dude, you literally took the words out of my mouth. and I think also for the Broncos, it gives them a chance to see what Courtland Sutton, the rookie, can do this year. He's a big dude. I think he'll be huge for the Broncos in the future.
Yeah, I definitely think he's ready to step in that place that Demaryius Thomas previously held. So I'm excited to see what he is because he's putting up some good numbers right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so another wide receiver that got traded, Golden Tate from the Detroit Lions, went to Philly for a third rounder. What do you think about that one?
I actually really like that trade just because Carson Wentz really needs help. Like, Alshon Jeffrey, I think, is like a top 15 receiver. Not a top 10, just right outside. I'd say 11 or 12. Their other receiver, Nelson Aguilar, is pretty inconsistent.
He's just kind of average, I feel like.
He's just kind of average, and Golden Tate is a great number 2 receiver just because he's a deep threat compared to Alshon Jeffrey, who's more of a possession guy. So I definitely think that's going to open up the field more for Carson Wentz. And the fact that, like, now I think you could slide Golden Tate into the slot too as well. If he's your deep threat, I think that would be a good combo for him and Wentz, just throwing dimes and bombs to each other.
Yeah, I feel like the Eagles at this point, I feel like both Golden Tate and Alshon Jeffrey are can be considered number 1 receivers. So, they essentially have 2 number 1 receivers right now. So I think that's going to be huge for Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a scary scenario to think about. But the Eagles do have a lot of problems right now. I just think their defense is not looking as great as it was last year. Their offense, especially the run game, is suffering this year. I think losing LeGarrette Blount really just destroyed their power run game. And, I don't know, there's just, outside of the pass, there's really not much offense. I mean, I hope this saves the Eagles season, but I definitely think there are still some pieces missing in order to help the Eagles turn around this season. Yeah.
I mean, if they do manage to make the playoffs, they're not going to make the run they made last year. That's for sure. All right. Well, last trade we're going to talk about was HaHa Clinton-Dix, a free safety from the Packers, was moved to the Redskins for a 4th rounder. Austin, you and I were talking earlier about HaHa Clinton-Dix. We were talking about maybe him being a top 5 safety in the league.
I definitely think that people don't give him credit. People just know him more for his name than his play, just because
he has a great name.
He has a great name, HaHa Clinton-Dix. That's a gem of a name. But if you look at Pro Football Metrics and you look at the numbers, he's actually rated as I think the number 1 or 2 safety in the league, along with DJ Swearinger, who is also on the Redskins, who is also rated by Pro Football Metrics as a number 1 or 2 safety in the league.
Yeah, that's a dirty secondary.
That's a dirty secondary. And they have Josh Norman. The Redskins are
looking nice.
Maybe next Legion of Boom, maybe.
I mean, maybe. That's.
I don't know. Josh Norman might be a little too old now.
I think at this point in the season, I don't know if it's safe to say, but it's definitely looking like the Redskins might end up winning the NFC East this year.
I mean, there's not really much competition.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Eagles, the Giants aren't anywhere near, Cowboys aren't looking all that good. So, yeah, I think the Redskins have a really good chance.
And they have the most consistent quarterback in
And
Just
Alex
have
Smith. Yeah, I mean, he's like the ideal system quarterback. Super underrated. But I don't know. Back to Clinton Dix, I feel like the Redskins honestly like that was a steal for them to grab him. He was a first round pick. He's at one point was he played in the Pro Bowl. I don't know. I feel like at times he can kind of be like a boom or bust type player, but at the end of the day, he's a really good safety, and the Redskins stole him for a fourth
Yeah,
rounder.
that Redskins secondary is looking real nice. I don't know if I'd want to throw.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's focus on my team, the 49ers, for a little bit. Nick Mullins started the game for against the Raiders this week.
My team, by the way.
Right, exactly. So Nick Mullins was, at the beginning of the year, the 49ers' third-string quarterback behind Jimmy Garoppolo and C.J. Beathard. As we all know, Jimmy Garoppolo went down early in the season with a torn ACL, and last week C.J. Beathard sat out with a wrist injury. So Nick Mullins got the start, and what did he do with it? Not much, just put up 262 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a passer rating of 151.9 in his NFL debut.
And according to the NFL history books, that is like the best debut for any quarterback ever, just in terms of passer rating. Like, he was looking real nice. I always make this joke because he's from southern Mississippi, just as the boy Brett Favre, but he's the second coming of Brett Favre, and you heard it on this podcast if it's true. But anyways, he looked really nice. I thought he didn't look nervous at all. I just noticed how poised he was. He honestly just looked like he was really excited and having fun with it.
Big time. About the Brett Favre, they both actually wore the number 4 too. So it's a little tidbit
that's Southern
right
Miss pipeline.
Yeah, no, but Nick Mullins looked great. I think you're right about his confidence. His very first throw was a first down, and he really just didn't slow down at any point.
He made really good reads. He always found the open guy. I watched that entire game, and I never thought like a pass he threw was ever going to be intercepted.
There was one questionable one to George Kittle, but George Kittle ended up making a fantastic one-handed catch, and I don't know how many yards he got, but it was a big play, like 60 yards or something.
If anything, it would have just been an overthrow.
Yeah. So Nick Mullins, there's nothing official yet, but it's looking like he'll likely get to start next week as well.
He deserves it.
He absolutely deserves it.
You don't just like casually just start the season on a practice squad and post like a perfect passer rating in your first career start. Like,
yeah.
I think that's definitely warranted another start.
Yeah, Big Dick Nick 2.0. All right. Well, Frank Gore, also actually a former 49er, this week passed Barry Sanders for the sixth most yards from scrimmage in NFL history. Frank Gore has just been that workhorse for as long as I can remember. He obviously played for the 49ers. He was on the Colts for a little while, and now he's kind of like the number 2/power back for the Dolphins.
I just think he is like fine wine and ages very well. The fact that he's, I think, like 34, 35, and still like teams are wanting to sign him says a lot about his prep, how he takes care of his body.
He doesn't even like talking about retirement because he doesn't think he's that close to it.
I definitely think that Frank Gore is the definition of consistency. Like, if you look at it, you're like, Frank Gore, he never puts up numbers that, like, wow you, but he's a name that you can think of like, yeah, he's been around for a while. He's actually been really good for a long time. So I definitely think that he's earned that reputation of just being consistent, power back, strong, someone who will give you the yards if you need it, and he provides great veteran leadership. So.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're in a 3rd-and-1 scenario, like you give the ball to Frank Gore,
and he'll get you the first down.
Yeah,
most of the time.
Definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, a Sunday Night Football, we saw Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers face off head-to-head, battle of the goats, as some would say. It was fun to watch. Tom Brady came out with the win, although I think a lot of that can be attributed to Aaron Jones fumbling the ball in the second half, as well as a vastly depleted secondary and just defense overall for the Packers. But it should be noted that this was actually likely the last time that we'll see Rodgers and Brady head-to-head, as they're not scheduled to play each other again until 2022. So unless they both end up in the Super Bowl, which probably isn't going to happen this year, that will likely be the last head-to-head game we see from him.
I'm calling it. Tom Brady's playing till he's 50. Calling it right now. But yeah, that's a little sad to think about, just because they're kind of the two quarterbacks of our generation that we grew up like watching and be like, wow, they're so good.
Right, making the playoffs every year, winning a couple Super Bowls.
I just definitely think that Tom Brady should just retire, to be honest. Just give someone else a chance. But I definitely feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to go down as a top 5 quarterback in NFL history without a doubt. I just wish he played on a better team.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers have been a great team, but this year they're a little bit lacking on defense.
They're always lacking on defense, though.
They've always lacked a little bit on defense. This year especially, though. I mean, I honestly don't know why they traded HaHa Clinton-Dix.
Exactly. Their secondary is honestly still their weakest part. I mean, Kevin King is looking decent as their number 1 cornerback, but I just think that you can't waste Aaron Rodgers I think he'll play until he's 40, so he has 5 more seasons to win a Super Bowl. I'd want him to win a Super Bowl.
I wouldn't be surprised at all for that to happen, but
you just need to start with the defense.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Mike McCarthy has kind of taken Aaron Rodgers for granted a little bit. Like over in New England with Tom Brady, Belichick never sleeps on the defense. He never sleeps on designing schemes, bringing in wide receiver talent. I just feel like Mike McCarthy could do a little bit better job and set up Rodgers in a better position.
I definitely think he knows that Aaron Rodgers has enough finesse to make do and win with what he has. But imagine if you surround him with good pieces.
Yep.
Think about if he had the receiving core of the Rams, the Packers would hands down be the best team in the league.
Yeah, I mean that's the difference from making the playoffs and making the Super Bowl.
Think about it. Jared Goff is absolute crap.
Well,
his first year.
Okay, first year, sure.
But the minute that Sean McVay came in and they slapped him with some good receivers, superstar, instant superstar. And in fact, you already have another superstar, so give him a Brandon Cooks. That should have been a trade that should have happened, especially because you decide to let Jordy Nelson walk through free agency. Randall Cobb still has issues dropping the ball.
I mean, shout out Devontae Adams. He's fucking nice.
Devontae Adams is nice, but that would be a nice receiving core if they had Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, I just feel like they need one more big name up there and fix some things on the defensive end.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today is November 5th. Le'Veon Bell has until November 13th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to report to the Steelers if he wants to play this season. I think at this point it's fair to speculate that I don't think we're going to see Le'Veon Bell on the field this season. I saw something earlier that's Bell was scheduled to make $14.5 million this year. Why would he come back now for $5 million? Exactly. The whole point, he's holding out because he wants more money, not less.
And honestly, if I'm the Steelers, I don't think I'd want Le'Veon back just because James Conner's killing it, and honestly, he's a better locker room presence.
Oh, absolutely.
Le'Veon Bell would just come back and just kind of ruin the environment in the locker room just because everyone knows he doesn't want to be there, and then everyone's like, well, why are you even here? And I just think the Steelers don't need that right now. James Conner looking nice, and even if he reports, there's no way he's taking James Conner's spot.
Yeah,
he's done nothing to lose it. So I definitely agree. Le'Veon Bell's staying on the sidelines this season. If he does report, I'd be shocked. But I definitely think this was his intention the entire time, just sitting out the season because he knows he's going to get paid regardless.
Yeah.
I don't think though he'll get that big contract he wanted just because he didn't play last season. And there's a lot of issues about his, attitude. But I definitely think he'll get a nice payday going into free agency, just not the contract he wanted.
I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. I think he definitely still has a chance to get a large contract. I think there are teams in the NFL with GMs and owners that are willing to pay that kind of money. However, I do think his stock has dropped slightly due to just sitting out a season. It certainly doesn't help. We know that. But James Conner, there really could not have been a better replacement for Le'Veon Bell. A little James Conner fact: he becomes the first NFL running back ever to record 100 plus rushing yards, 50 plus receiving yards, and a touchdown in 4 games in the same season.
Yeah, and the fact that everyone was calling him Le'Veon Bell's replacement, but he's literally doing better.
He's James Conner, man.
He's James Conner. Don't even talk about Le'Veon Bell, you got to talk about James Conner first if you're talking about Steelers running backs.
Yeah, consistent beast every week.
And good overall guy. Like, great story. Beat cancer while he was in college. And he's genuinely happy to be playing for the Steelers, too. And, like, he's honestly in it to win.
Right.
Not about the money.
Absolutely. The only thing he could do better is cut his hair.
Yeah. It's like Le'Veon Bell. Like, the Steelers are Super Bowl contenders. It's just you're kind of selfish with wanting to. I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, it's like you're on a good team. You have potential to.
I feel like I can see both sides of the issue. I mean, Le'Veon, I could be wrong. It was at least 2. He might have been franchise tagged 3 years in a row. I'd have to check on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he does want that contract, but at the same time, it's like.
I just don't understand why the Steelers were refusing to pay him in the first place. I feel like there's, like, yeah, you can say, like, yeah, man, Le'Veon Bell's hurting his team, blah, blah, blah. He's already getting paid. But at the same time, like, I feel like it's a little bit on the Steelers, too. Like, they didn't step up and give him that contract.
Think about it, though, like, most great running backs on NFL teams were drafted by their team, if you think about it. And it's not like the Steelers were pretty confident they could find someone in a draft, and they did. They found James Conner. So
true.
I definitely think that's one of the reasons why they didn't want to pay, just because it's like, why would I pay this much for a running back? Running back is like the shortest lifespan in terms of an NFL career. And James Conner's younger by like a couple years. I feel like he's more of like a dynamic open field runner. He definitely doesn't have the polish and like in terms of pass catching as Le'Veon Bell does, but I think he's gonna get there, and I definitely think he'll sneak into the conversation as top 10 running back. Not this season, next season.
I think it's very likely he'll be top 10. I think there's a possibility. I think it's unlikely, but there's a possibility he becomes top 5 in the next few years.
Yeah.
All right. Well. Let's end with the Rams and the Saints. Definitely the 2 best teams in the NFC played against each other on Sunday. Saints came out with the win. So the Rams are no longer undefeated. There are no undefeated teams left in the NFL. I don't know, Austin. I really don't see a scenario in which the Rams and the Saints don't play again in the NFC Championship.
I definitely think that I'm excited to see another game between the Rams and Saints, just because that was a great game to watch, because the Saints were killing it early on, and the Rams just had this comeback, and then that dime to Michael Thomas at the end of the game.
How about the celebration?
The celebration, oh my God, he just takes out his cell phone.
Yeah,
but
I haven't seen a flip phone in a while.
I haven't seen a flip phone. It's probably it might be a trap phone. Who knows? But anyways, I definitely think Drew Brees is having like one of the best seasons of his career. If I had to hand the MVP award, I'd give it to Drew Brees right now, just because like he has that locker room presence you want from your quarterback, the poise, the consistency. He's putting up consistent numbers every week too. He's also my fantasy quarterback, and I just think Drew Brees deserves to win another Super Bowl, and I really want the Saints to win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I think just regardless of who won and is going to make a deeper playoff run, the Rams and the Saints are honestly fairly similar teams in a lot of aspects. Like, they both have top 5 running backs in Todd Gurley and Alvin Kamara. I think the GMs of both teams are spectacular. I mean, you look at what the Saints did in the 2017 draft, and you look at what the Rams did in free agency this season. These are both teams that are in it to win it right now, and just every week they put up incredible numbers. Super exciting to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them play again in the NFC Championship.
All right, well, if you had to pick right now, who you say is going to win that game?
Well, I want the Saints to win, but I feel like the Rams would probably squeak it out, just because it's like, if it's a shootout, I mean, I don't want to bet against Drew Brees, but like the Rams have more weapons to say to their name than the Saints do. But like, I think I'm the winner at home, to be honest, because I don't care who wins. I know it's just going to be a great game.
Yeah, agreed. I think I'm in the same boat. It's really tough. I was going to say Saints, but I think when it comes down to it, defense wins championships. And then when you look at like the play caller, Sean McVay for the Rams is incredible. Arguably top 5 coach, despite it being his first year there.
His second year.
Second year there.
Oh, without a doubt, a top 5 coach. Just
Yeah.
because he turned the Rams from like a mediocre to like bleh team to like, damn, the Rams are hella good.
Yeah, exactly.
Within just like a snap of his fingers.
At the same time, though, the Rams are young, and maybe it comes down to experience. You know, Drew Brees making that split-second decision that Jared Goff wasn't able to make. So
Yeah.
I really think that game will be a toss-up, but it's going to be real fun to watch.
Yeah. Like I said, the real winners are the people watching at home.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's where we're going to leave it today. Thank you for tuning in to Crunch Time. As always, we'll be back next week. For Awesome Man, I'm Noah Elkin.
See y'all later. Have a good one.